at the Bull Run Manassas battlefield. The Union calls it Bull Run, referring to the small creek, Bull Run Creek, north of here. And the Confederates named it Manassas, referring to the city of Manassas, which is a couple of miles south from here. The battle took place on 21st of July, 1861, was the first major battle in the Civil War. The Union was led by General Irvin McDowell, and the Confederates were led by General Beauregard and General Johnston. The casualties were almost even, 2,000 each side, between dead, killed, and captured, or maybe missing. The Union thought this is just going to be very short. It will be a couple of hours, then they will defeat the Confederates, the rebels, and they go home, they declare victory, save the Union, and they go home. Well, it became decisive, an important battle for the Confederates. At first hours of the battle, the Union were defeating the Confederates, pushing the Confederates toward their positions. But later on, when a young general, or colonel I think at that time, from VMI, Virginia Military Institute, he goes by Thomas J. Jackson, he brought his Shenandoah forces, and they re-engaged the Confederates with the Union soldiers, and they start advancing and moving toward victory. And that's when General Thomas J. Jackson earned his famous nickname. Because of the Union and the Lincoln administration thought this is going to be very short and is going to be just a small battle between professional soldiers and rebellion. So the people from Washington, D.C. and surrounding area, they brought their picnic basket and their carriage or horse riding, and they came here to sit and watch the battle. This is the first official battle and major battle in American history at that time, because they never seen two units or two armies fighting each other. So they sat somewhere. So the people just sit here and they trying to enjoy the winning of the Union, and so they have their barbecue, probably have a glass of wine and just watching, just like the French when they used to watch Napoleon battles, and that's what they want to do here. Well, the end of the day, they got caught up in the Union soldier retreat, and even one of the citizens who was watching the battle, a congressman from Rochester, New York, he was captured by the Confederates as a result of the defeat of the Union. So the people trying to have a good time, didn't work really that well. The house behind me, called Henry House, was owned by an older lady. She's 84 years old. Her name is Judith Carter Henry, and she lived here. In the morning of July 21st, 1861, she heard and she know that the Confederates and the Union forces, they're going to be in this area, but she didn't know it's going to be near to her house. And she stayed in her house until later in the morning. Then her son, it was Sunday, her son John came from Loudoun County to visit her and to check on her. Bombing get closer to her house, so her son John and her daughter Ellen Henry, and they have a young slave, her name is Lucy Griffin. They took her away from the house, half a mile probably, and she decided to get back to her house, and she wanted to be there. She was begging them to bring her back to the house, so they did. She came and she went to her bed. While they're gone, the Confederate sharpshooters, snipers, they took the advantage of the house was empty, so they came and they used the house as a sniper station, and just hunting the Union soldiers who was wandering around here. And so when she came, she didn't mind the Confederates there, so she went to her bed and she just wanted to relax. She gave it up. The Union captain, James Ricketts, decided to just shell the house and kill whoever inside the house. That's what happened. So he bombed the house from close distance. She was heavily wounded and she died later around noonish. But her daughter, Ellen, she survived actually, but she became deaf for the rest of her life. She was squeezed between the wall and the chimney, and that's what protect her. This house, it's a replica. It's not an actual house. That house was leveled, was destroyed in 1861. Until 1940s, they rebuilt the house, and the grave of Judith Carter Henry and her children right here. They decided to bury her to be closer. Judith Henry became the first civilian casualty in the Civil War. The first one. Well, the first military casualty was Elmer Ellsworth. He was killed in May 1861 in Alexandria, Virginia, in Old Town specifically. He was a good friend of President Lincoln, and they were sitting in the White House while looking at the Confederate flag was flying on the top of one of the buildings in Old Town, Alexandria. Then Colonel Ellsworth went there with his troops. They trying to take the flag down. The hotel keeper or the owner shot Ellsworth, and Ellsworth was dead immediately, and the hotel keeper was killed on site also. Ellsworth was the first military casualty before the death of Miss Henry. Colonel Ellsworth, he's the one who brought the concept of the Zouaves. If you remember those in the movies, remember the fez, the red fez, baggy trouser, they call them the Zouaves. He's the one who introduced the idea to the military, and he was the commander of the 11th New Yorker volunteers. They fought during Civil War without him, of course. He died before all the major battles. But the Zouaves, it's a French word for Zouawa. Zouawa tribes in Algeria. Algeria was part of the French Empire, and the French army, French military were recruiting Zouawis, and they give them this fancy, shiny uniform, and they are really powerful and tough fighters, and that's where it came from. I will have an episode about the Zouavis. There is Johnson standing like a stone wall. Let's rally behind the Virginians. That's what General Vernon E. B. shouted to his soldiers and his Confederate troops to rally behind the young man, Stonewall Jackson. General Jackson earned this name in this battle on the 21st of July 1861. Of course, he survived the war until May 2nd, 1863, when he was shot by accident by his own troops, and he died a week later. But he became the most famous general in the first stage of the Civil War because he orchestrated all the victories, and maybe that shout also led the Confederate to victory against the Union. It's the first major battle in the Civil War, but there is another 4 years of the Civil War, and we're gonna go through them. I'm Kadhim Al-Waeli, Bull Run or Manassas, Virginia.